Gump report. Okay, you see the title and you're probably going like, dude, what the hell? You were so happy. You were shocked at Bound for Glory. You were happy. You were shocked. You were just like all of us. I said, yeah, I was, and I still am to a certain extent. But as a fair reviewer of what happened with Bound for Glory and now the subsequent, basically, aftermath of what they announced, I had to sit down and look at the evidence in front of me. And I gotta tell you, I have to be honest. And I'm going to give this where credit is due, at least with, how can I say this? If you look at JD's video when he was talking about what was going on with Punk, I believe it's been up for a bit now. He talked about Impact Wrestling. And even though he had an attitude with it, let's make it clear, JD is a New Yorker like me. He has a freaking attitude, which we all do to a certain extent. His is cranked up to 11 to a certain extent. Yes, that's being a personality. I'm not like that. I don't have really a very high level personality like JD does. Doesn't mean he's not a great performer himself. It doesn't mean he's not a great showman. But he was a bit over the top. That's JD. But he gave up a lot of valid questions and criticisms of Impact Wrestling. And when I saw it, I'll admit I got a little upset. But then I had to think, taking away from his showmanship, is he saying anything incorrect? No. So I had to think, what would make TNA work again? So I came up with 6 criteria. What is important to me as a reviewer, but also as a fan of Impact Wrestling that's about to rebrand themselves back to what they originally were, and understand, yes, if you look at not my playlist, but I checked my own records to see when I started calling TNA Wrestling Impact Wrestling. Now, the announcement that was on the show by Mick Foley when he had Jeff Jarrett there, he had Eric Bischoff there, he had Hulk Hogan there, and I think at least 1 or 2 others. And it was Mick Foley as a representative of the network that couldn't stand how TNA was acting, that announced it May 11th, 2011, or May 24th, either 24th or the 11th, I can't remember, had announced it, that they're now going from TNA Wrestling to Impact. They kept the name TNA for a while on the show before they transitioned away from that and went to Impact. And I checked. I wondered, when did I start saying it was Impact Wrestling from TNA? And that was, I think, September 2012. Was it September or October of 2012? I believe it was. 1 year and several months after, at least a year and a half after they made the announcement in 2011, before I even did wrestling reviews, they went from going from TNA to Impact, talking about it, and then making the branding then. Now, did the show 100% reflect the company? From what I understand, some people said it was 2017 when they fully rebranded to Impact Wrestling, not just stayed as TNA. But now, this is what I found out. And this before my criteria. This is what I found out so far, because I'm sure this is going to continue to develop. One of the reasons why they decided to rebrand was not because they were tired of it. Was due to the fact that their people who basically pay them to show their show wanted, and this, well, it's several of them. One of them is that several different venues and places where they basically go and show the show said that they would rather go back to TNA because internally, for the different companies that they work with or venues they went to, they called it TNA internally, not Impact. Also, and I know you know who you are, you did say it, and even though I didn't mention it years ago, I completely forgot it. But it was mentioned after 2019 that right when they were turning to 2020, they were going to rebrand then. But as it's already been reported on at least 3 different sites, they had to postpone that due to the pandemic. That was the reason why Moose held on to the title so long. But here's where something happened. And this is what not many people will even admit or understand. Even though Impact Wrestling wanted to rebrand in 2019 into 20 to become TNA Wrestling again, because they did not do it because they could not because of COVID, Moose benefited from it so heavily because he was able to really emphasize how important he was with a dead title. So even though many people knew that it was eventually going to switch, even though it didn't switch, it still put over one person that truly needed it, and that was Moose. Moose needed that shine, that overbearing attitude, which made him become who he is today. Which, surprising, he decided to still stay with the company instead of going away for a little while, working in maybe AEW, NWA, MLW. Not saying he has to go to WWE, but he could have. But he decided, because he loved the company so much, he decided to renegotiate his contract again, which he did. But understand this, and this is what a lot of people need to understand. Yes, I was just like everyone else, excited hearing that Impact Wrestling is going to become TNA again. But I had to sit down after the shock of it and really think, what are we really getting? Because as I said in Bound for Glory, I didn't know if the six-sided ring was going to happen. I didn't know if anyone's character would change to suit the changes going to Impact, transitioning to TNA. This is what I found out so far when it came to NoDQ.com and PW Insider. And what was the last one? I can't remember. I think it was Fightful, or I can't remember the other one. It was another one that was 411. I think 411 Mania. I could be wrong about the third one. But this is what I learned. When they decided about rebranding back, finally, because like I said, as many of you already checked, they've already said it in articles that pretty much they wanted to do in 2019, but COVID-19 stopped them. It prevented them from doing it. Now that they're rebranding back, what are we getting? We're getting a name brand back to the way it was. Because internally, for several venues or companies they work with, they called it TNA. Also, and understand what I'm talking about, the different national and international companies that have worked with Impact Wrestling over the years, internally, whenever they work with them, they don't call the company Impact Wrestling. They call it the TNA internally. That doesn't mean that the branding was changed when they produced the items or when they went to the venue. They just called it internally TNA. Also, due to the fact that Impact Wrestling was a huge mess when it came to continuity. Look, we went from TNA Wrestling to Global Force Wrestling. TNA Global Force, well, let me give you a little bit. They originally started out as how can I explain this? They originally started when they were connected to NWA. When Jeff Jarrett and his dad started a company and they connected themselves to NWA, which wasn't a very good company itself. It was basically debunked. I think in 2001, they were a mess. And they were debunked by either 2001 or 2006. I could be wrong. Please do not chew me out. I can't remember. I did read the Wikipedia a while ago about that because I wanted to understand about NWA. And I may have a video on NWA with about to say Baron Corbin, but Billy Corgan, and about the CW and what he thought about CM Punk. I might do another video on that. But it was around that time when they asked them, could they join them? And at that point, it was, I believe, Sting was the first champion, or was it Kurt Angle was the first? No, Sting was their first champion of the company, I believe. And that was the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and that was roughly around 2002 when they had their pay-per-view. Then later, when they decided to go by themselves instead of being NWA TNA, they now became TNA, and Kurt Angle became their first TNA World Champion. Then later, they decided to become Impact Wrestling. Now, when did Kurt Angle gain the TNA title? I think 2006 or 7. I think that's when he became the first TNA champion. I could be wrong. You can leave a comment. Of course, I know someone, you know who you are. You leave me basically a sonnet or a novel this long. Takes me a while to read it as being dyslexic, but I'm not mad at you. I'm glad that you do it. But you'll leave me alone if I'm forgetting something or if I'm making a mistake. I'm not perfect, guys. I'm not perfect. But if I remember correctly, NWA champion, TNA champion, and by 2011, when Mick Foley went on TV, this is not about when officially behind the scenes they changed from TNA Wrestling to Impact. I'm talking about what's on screen. Remember, we're talking about what's on screen. Not everyone looked at what was going on in the dirt sheets and know what was going on in the background. Right around the time when they transitioned from Impact, there was a huge mess when it came to Dixie Carter. It was already a mess maybe from 2007 to about 12 or 13. It was a mess. Dixie Carter was a problem. Eric Bischoff was a problem. Hulk Hogan was a problem. A lot of the producers was giving issues. It was just a mess. And then, as they moved forward, Jeff Jarrett decided to start Global Force Wrestling. And they decided maybe to talk to Jeff, saying we need to combine the two companies. Global Force, Impact Wrestling happened for how long was it? About a year? Or over, at least a year or over. I can't remember how long it was. But Global Force Wrestling and Impact Wrestling combined into one company, and then they went from that to being purchased by Anthem. After Anthem, that is where we've been today. That is what we've been having. A huge inconsistency of NWA, TNA, Impact Wrestling, Global Force, Impact, and then just Impact. It's just been so much continuity, a big mess. So another reason was to make sure continuity was cleaned up because it was nothing but a damn ass mess for Impact and the company itself when it came to trying to keep the fans happy so they can understand what was going on. But what do we really have here? These are the criteria I need to see for myself, which comes from Impact Wrestling transition TNA. As I said in Bound for Glory, the first thing is the characters. Characters need to reflect the changing in the company going from one name to another. Second is production. Now we've been told that they're going to be updating their production value. That's the second, production. More talent. Now this is a big one. The more talent. We need more talent. Because one of the major issues that Impact has, which will transition to TNA, is that they have a rotating door of wrestlers coming in and out, staying for a little while with the tapings and then leaving, staying for a little while with tapings and leaving, staying maybe about near a year or so, and they're gone. And I'm not telling you that AEW doesn't do it. Of course they do. NWA does it. We know that. They've all done it. But in the situation they're in, this is what I need to see. I need to see consistent wrestlers, male and female, stay in the company more than a year. And they got to be written. That's something I didn't write in for there. That would be number 7. But 6, more talent. But let's be honest. When it comes down to it, it really comes down to you got to write for these people. One of the major things that has been good with Impact, they've been willing to take a chance and try something entirely different, like what happened with Tessa Blanchard. What's happening with Jordan Grace when she won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Seeing that we have a Gazelle Shaw who's on Impact Wrestling TV. Showing that they don't care if you're transgender or gay, like we saw Sonny Kiss in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. And I do believe I did read that he's going to be there for a while. I don't know if he's signed or not. He probably is not. He'll probably do some tapings. But needing to write for these people that you must, and I say this clearly, for me, they must keep them longer than a year. Anyone who's going to be on tapings, they must be signed for more than a year. They need to show the fans, the older fans, who can bring in the newer fans, because there's going to be people going to talk about it, that we can be consistent with our talent. Because if talent stays for 3 months and then they're gone for almost a year, and then maybe they come back, and worse yet, they stay for a few months, they're part of a storyline, and then like that, they're gone. before the storyline's even complete. That's one of the notorious problems that Impact had. And the key here, the talent. We need to sign Will Ospreay. We need to sign CM Punk. And anyone else that could be with a very high profile, like a Dolph Ziggler. He's one of the most oldest and well-known wrestlers from WWE. He's been there 15 long-ass years. Now, I'm not expecting him not to go and be with his brother in AEW because his brother's there. I believe is Brian, I believe his name is. I can't remember his name. Brian Nimitz or Matt Nimitz. I can't remember. I don't see him often, so I keep forgetting his name. But Nick, he could work with his brother finally. Maybe he might come here. You never know. But the point is, we need high-profile talent that is capable of showing how good they could be. Next, when it comes to the look and feel, let's make it clear. We've already been told, and you could see in the articles that are currently on most of the sites, Impact Wrestling, when they transition to TNA, will have a new set and new look and feel. Next to better cameras, that's what they said. Pretty much, they said new production value and new look and feel, which is the new sets and the new ring, supposedly. Final, and this is the most important, that's going to make them finally be recognized and could be able to keep up with AEW because they're not going to be WWE. Let's make this clear. What Impact needs to do, by my perspective, they need to be like AEW and start doing live events. And now, and I'm sure people will say, dude, they've already said this. Yes, they did. But they're also going to still do tapings. They need to stop the tapings altogether and go live event permanently. It's going to be harder on the wrestlers, but we need that. This is what I believe the 6 criteria need to be. Now, that's what I believe they need. Let's see what they actually are going to present us. Because what I want is one thing, but what they've stated on the sites in the articles is a totally different thing. What we got in the articles, they've talked about CM Punk. They've made offers to CM Punk. Well, not directly made offers, but they have an open door for him because we already know he did show up for some tapings after Bound for Glory. It was right afterward. He was there on a Sunday. There was some tapings. He was in the back. We know Ace Steel is there, and he is being checked over to see if he could be a producer. They want him as a producer even before he went to AEW. And when he got fired first, I don't think they offered him before AEW. I'm sorry. It was after the first time when he was fired and then brought back. The first time he was fired, that's when they offered him. That's when they did. But when it comes down to it, he is now producing a couple of shows, a couple of tapings. If he stays as a producer, that would be a good thing. Because we need a better producer. We need something different when it comes to the way the show is presented. But maybe CM Punk could be a part of that. What they've stated is that they're trying to see if he would fit, and that is Ace Steel, as a producer. They're offered, well, they didn't say they offered anything to Punk, but he has the option to come in, just like when it comes to Billy Corgan. He has an open door for him as well. But the key is, they haven't made an offer. Now, many people would say, well, we just got to get Anthem to do it. Anthem needs to pay. Well, here's the thing, what I've been telling you for years. Having a multi-billion-dollar company does not mean they're going to give Impact Wrestling, soon to be TNA, a multi-billion-dollar budget. You do not hear what is in front of you. No matter what you say, what they do is different. A multi-billion-dollar company does not give one of its aspects $1 billion to play with. They don't. As I've said before, TNA, formerly, well, soon to be TNA, they have a budget of their own through the merchandise they sell and the ticket prices they sell. And when it comes to the app and the people paying for the app to see the product. Even YouTube has them on their premium channel. So pretty much, they get paid a certain amount on their own. But it doesn't mean that Anthem doesn't give them some level of budget. They give them something. Of course, like all companies that have a satellite company, they make sure they do give them a certain allowance that they're stuck with. But the key here, if Anthem is not willing to hire Punk, Impact Wrestling does not have the budget to pay Punk, which it is stated on, I believe, NoDQ.com, where they would have to pay 15 to 20 times more than what their current roster gets. Moose is one of the strongest characters they have and one of the best wrestlers they have. And he doesn't even make close to what Punk did. Or any of the other wrestlers. Think about it. What did they get? If they got a similar to a contract which WWE does, which is a no-fault contract, which could go between $100,000 to maybe $500,000 to their mid-tier wrestlers, what happened if that's what they got for Impact Wrestling? Where the wrestlers only get maybe what? $150,000 to maybe $200,000 a year? Or $400,000 a year? CM Punk is worth millions of dollars. Whether you like it or not. Whether you think he's a piece of garbage for what he's done on AEW TV and caused so much havoc. It doesn't matter. He's worth millions of dollars. That's the reason why Billy Corgan said that he couldn't afford him. And he wouldn't insult him by trying to give him a low offer. But he said on a podcast that if he wanted to come and wrestle, the door's open. You can come and have fun. But I can't pay you what you want. I don't have that budget. Impact Wrestling doesn't have that budget. No matter how much, and I'm saying it again to any person below, I'll say it again. You can look at the sites yourself. Go to NoDQ.com. Go to, I believe 411 Mania may have it. And Fightful may have it. They basically do not have the budget to pay for it. And Anthem is not going to give it to them immediately unless Anthem really believes that CM Punk is worth it. They're not increasing their budget for one wrestler. Now, should they? Yes. They should. Because he's so controversial, it could really help the ratings. Trust me. Collision is not the same without him there. Even just Alex said, since he's been gone, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same on Collision at all. And it's not the point that Adam Copeland is there. He's got to have time to build himself up, to make himself marketable in a new company. And he's not using the name Edge. He's known as Edge, not Adam Copeland. It's going to take him time to really make a fan base sort of recognize him for his original actual name. But when it came to Punk, he was that recognizable, that electrifying. It doesn't make a difference if you like it or not. Will Ospreay is another one. He's going to be done soon. And I agree with JD. He said this himself. And I do agree even before he said it. And I even said it myself. When it came to Ospreay, it would be great if he was working in a damn company like CM Punk. And Ospreay's own contract's about to be up with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if they were smart, they would grab him. But counting on what type of budget they get from Anthem and how much he is worth in a contract, unless he's willing to do a one-off like that he did with Bound for Glory again, which I think he will. I think he's going to do another one-off. To hire him under contract, they're going to have to spend a lot of money. Millions for Punk and near $1 million or so for Will Ospreay. There's no way Will isn't going to get near $1 million or more, and Punk could get multi-million dollars. So this is a major problem. If Anthem is not willing to fork the cash out for both these guys, which are very electrifying, which Punk is the most electrifying person in wrestling right now, after what he's done. He's so notorious that wherever he goes, he's going to have eyes on him because people are going to want to see him succeed, or they're going to be dying to see when he starts another fight and fails. He will be there. The look and feel when it comes to the ring. Let's make this clear. They've already stated it. They're not bringing back the six-sided ring. It's already been stated that the wrestlers don't like it because it's harder on their bodies. And they made it clear they're not going to hurt the wrestlers. So what are they doing differently? They're doing the same thing. They're using the same style of ring. They're not going to change it. Also, the characters. What I said, you heard me earlier. Let the characters be aware of the change of Impact. Have the characters change a little bit to deal with Impact. Why not? It'll bring in more interest if the characters are more full of themselves because they think when TNA changes, they're going to be the top TNA wrestler, male or female, or they're going to be insecure about it, or they're going to be more violent, or they're going to be more stylish, something. Now, we don't know if they're going to do that. Many of them might. You never know. There may be a few of them that may play into the change of the brand, but they may not, because they stated none of the wrestlers in the article, they said none of the wrestlers are going to change. Also, they talk about the new belts. There's going to be new belts along with the new branding for the company itself. But they made it very clear, we're not getting rid of old champions. Current champions are staying where they are. Now, is that the wisest thing to do? In a sense, yes, it is. It is wise to let them keep their current champions as they are, like Alex Shelley, like when it comes to Chris Sabin, when it comes to Trin, when it comes to MK Ultra. And also, we don't know what's going to happen with Tommy. Will he drop the title to Steve? We don't know. But also Steve. You could say that's really good. But then, if you want to make something interesting, the best option, the moment they're finished, is to set up tournaments for all of them. And I know tournaments have been played out. But in this situation, after Hard to Kill, start making a tournament for the knockouts. Start making a tournament for the X Division. Start making a tournament for that. So, the first person that the new champion has to go up against, they could give the title then. Because we want to make it very clear. I would like it like, what I think would be the smartest, is to let all the old champions, the current ones, have the old belts. And after Hard to Kill, do a tournament so the new champion with the old belts would earn the right to keep that new belt. This is just me, but do I believe they're going to do that? No. I believe they're just going to hand the new titles to all champions. Do I believe that's the wise thing to do? No. I believe they got to make some more interest in that. But honestly, I'm telling you right now, as it stands, we're not getting anything new from Impact. Either better production quality, which they've been needing to do for quite a while. New look and feel for the sets, which have been pretty old for quite a while. If they are going to do live events, fine. But they need to stop doing tapings unless it's a special event. Tape something like when Throwdown Thursday. When it comes to the internet, the International Provincial Wrestling Federation, which I will be doing it. But the point is, they need to change. No more tapings generally. If they keep doing tapings, they'll never get anywhere. If they do some live events, no. They need to do generally a lot of live events to drum up interest. I know they're also going to go to more larger venues, which is a good thing. But the most important thing, it's most important, better character development for the current wrestlers and new talent to go with that better writing. If Ace Steel can help produce better writing, they need to have more people on the roster that needs to stay there longer than a year. Because as it stands, with a rotating door for everyone to come in for a couple of months, do a little bit of taping, then leave, and worse yet, they're in storylines that only last a couple of months, they lose. Every single time. They need to let that go. They need to change. If they don't, then this was just addressing. We didn't get Impact Wrestling to really turn into TNA. We just got a knockoff. That's, instead of TNA here, it's here. We got no six-sided ring. We get no character development. We get no new wrestlers that stay for more than maybe 2 or 3 months. What is the point of caring? I mean, I still love it and I'll still review it. But as someone who's a realist, if they don't do these things and get these criteria right, no one's going to watch them. No matter even they go to a new network, which they've been rumored to do. But it's just me. Peace. And you'll probably see this Wednesday. If you're seeing this now, it's Wednesday. Well, it will be Wednesday. It's Tuesday before NXT. I'm not going to release it now. I'm going to release it tomorrow. Peace.